Hi, David Balestri here. It's a great honor to just take a couple of moments and hopefully bring some encouragement from the Word of God for you. I want to thank Pastor Rob Feeney for the opportunity to just share a couple of thoughts around this theme of more than we could ever imagine. You know, in Luke chapter 5, we see Jesus coming by a lake. It's the first encounter that he's going to have with who will ultimately be the Apostle Peter. And it says this in Luke 5 verse 1, so it was that when a multitude pressed about him to hear the word of God, that he stood by this lake of Gennesaret, and he saw two boats standing by the lake, but the fishermen had gone from them, and they were washing their nets, which means they were finished. In verse 3 it says, then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, Peter's, and asked him to put it out a little from land. And he sat down and taught the multitudes from the boat. You know, I really believe that just the first thought here is that I really believe that Jesus wants us to allow him, as it were, to get into our boat, the boat of our lives, the boat of our hearts, the boat of our minds. You know, this year, 2022, it's a year that, you know, we can really make a choice here, which is to get swallowed up by the disruption. And I think that there will be some more disruption. Or we can really take this moment and say, you know what, Jesus, I want you to come into my boat. I want you to get deeper into my world. I want to get deeper into you, because I know if that happens, something's going to happen that is beyond what I could ever ask, think, or imagine. It says when he stopped speaking, this is the promise, after Peter had allowed Jesus into his boat, even in the midst the story tells that Peter he wasn't having a great time. They didn't have a great catch. Business wasn't good. Things weren't ideal. And yet Simon, at this point, is saying to Jesus, get into my boat. Then it says that from within Simon's boat, in the context of that, here's the words of the Lord. It says, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. I believe that in a sense of a prophetic promise, that God is inviting us in 2022, rather than to back away and to shut things down and to small things down. Actually, he's saying, hey, come on, 2022, I want to have an adventure. I want to invite you deep with me. Come on, let's go out into the deep waters. What does deep mean? Deep intimacy, deep connection, deep faith, deep love for the word, deep love for the Lord, a depth in worship, allowing all the parts of our lives, as it were, to go deeper by the Spirit of the Lord. This isn't about try harder. This is about deep surrender, deep love, a deep embracing and saying, Lord, at your word, which is really what Peter says here. Peter says, hey, we've had a hard night, but at your word, I will let down the net. We're going to go deep and I'm going to let down the net. I'm going to believe and I'm going to work, as it were, in synergy with what you're doing. I really believe this is the promise of God for us, that as we do that God is going to take us into deep waters with him. We don't need to be scared about that. But as a result of it, and of course this account, we see that there's a great catch in Peter's life, so much so that he's got to invite the others to come and help him because his boat begins to sink because of the overload of the goodness of God. Peter could never have imagined what was about to happen by going out into the deep with Jesus. And I believe we will not be able to comprehend the fullness of what it is as we surrender our lives into a greater depth of discipleship, of surrender, of love at the feet of Jesus in 2022. God is going to do over and above and beyond what we could ever ask, imagine, or think. Bless you.